of early aggression, and Draven is the king of early aggression. Draven, as far as ADCs go, is definitely the more potent one during the early bits of laning phase. However, when we also include the supports, we see that Zyra has so much potential. She is top of the charts as far as early game support bullies. She is able to destroy so much with such great consistency that I'm not sure this Thresh and Draven will actually be able to keep up, solely because the Zyra will be providing so many opportunities for her plants, for Lucian to have chances to duck in, deal some damage, and hide and get away very easily.
Well, you also have to take into consideration, I believe, Zyra. You got to remember, Zyra's plants are more targets for Draven to get more money off of, essentially. So, throws an axe,
That is
he's
true.
going to get a stack. Catches the axe, he's going to get a stack. She's giving him more targets to hit.
That is true, but at the same time, with a Zyra this game, that is a very skill shot oriented support for where a lot of her damage is.
Right.
Which means Draven is, if he chooses to try to catch an axe, it is very predictable for where he's going to go. He is going to have to go to that same position to catch the axe, enabling Zyra to make these picks and get that damage off.
Right.
But when we look at other lanes as well, we see the Hecarim, which, in my opinion, was an incredibly well-picked counter to that Kha'Zix.
Yeah.
It will basically force engages onto the Hokages that they just don't want, enabling NAEVI to take advantage, especially when combined with that Orianna ult potential. And that could definitely be a huge detriment to Lucian.
Yeah.
As far as the Darius-Shen matchup, Darius definitely has a very strong advantage, but I do think that Shen, if he plays carefully and cautiously, he should be able to stay in the game and not get too far behind if he makes sure that he's constantly wary of the extra gank potential for him being top on red side.
Right. And thinking of the Echo and Orianna matchup, I think that Echo probably has the advantage there just because of his maneuverability. Orianna is going to be able to throw some of her damage around, but at the same time, Echo is going to be he's going to stay on top of her and kind of do a bunch of sustained damage before he actually is able to get out, or before he actually wants to get out. Orianna is essentially going to be trying to run around dodging him as much as she possibly can.
Yeah.
So although I know they aren't necessarily running Echo as an assassin per se in the game anymore, he still has a lot of the components that allow him to pretty much behave like one. So she's gonna have to be a little worried and a little more paranoid about what she's doing in her lane matchup early on before Hecarim's able to come around and start ganking for her.
Yeah, again, it seems that all of these champions, lots of practice put in on them, as you can see by the mastery scores. And it seems that overall, there just seems to be a lot of pressure that this Echo has as potential for making it so he can affect the Orianna and get those little advantages. And if he gets far enough ahead, Orianna is someone who will not be able to easily stop an Echo tower dive, because
Right.
Echo can slip out from those so easily by just hitting his R and disappearing and regaining so much health.
Right, exactly. So this is going to be Orianna could make or break, in my opinion, their NAEVI strategy.
Yeah.
If she's able to survive the Echo onslaught, things might turn out to be a very interesting matchup in terms of an ending for this whole game. But if she's not able to protect herself, things might get a little funny, and it looks like we might be getting ready to go for an invade. And we have an early fight. Zyra throws down the plants, but it looks like Kha'Zix almost dies. So much damage is going out. Who's going to get the first blood? It looks like Lucian gets first blood on Hecarim.
But they are pulling back because so much damage was put onto them.
And say NAEVI tried to see if they could go ahead and get a small advantage, but unfortunately it looks like it just wasn't meant to be. Hecarim goes down first, kind of putting him back a little bit.
You can see that is, a very hefty 400 gold lead that the Lucian just picked up right off the bat. And then 25 to 50 extra gold that the other team members got. But Lucian is going to be the one that is affected the most. And in fact, he picked up a long sword.
Ooh, man, yeah.
That's going to give him a very nice extra boost early game in order to basically push the advantage that they're looking for in bot ahead.
Like, essentially, that kind of puts him more on an equalizer concept with Draven, just because Draven has a lot of AD going into level 1. Now that's not necessarily all that important because Lucian is closer to his amount of AD that he'd be throwing out with his normal auto attacks. So NAEVI might have actually lost a little bit of their laning advantage because of that. And I hope that they're prepared for what that might necessarily mean in the future, because if they don't do something about Lucian soon, he's going to be pretty much growing at the same rate that Draven grows. And in all honesty, Lucian's going to win those fights in the future just because of his mobility.
Speaking of Echo, even trade mid lane, and it seems that both of them got down to about half health. One thing to note is that this Orianna is grabbing that early game fight, and it seems that Thresh is very close to falling, but Draven able to get a little more damage on, discouraging them from pursuing that further. But both of the bot laners for NAEVI are both quite low. Early game, little fight top lane. Shen is coming out on top, but the bleed starts to equalize that fight for the Darius.
All right, so yeah, it looks like both junglers are actually, well, it looks like they might be coming through a crash course with each other. Hecarim, well, looks like Kha'Zix wants to go stop at a camp, but now it looks like Hecarim's going to go ahead and try and gank top. He's waiting for Shen to get out just a little bit too far so he can go ahead and dive on him, but it looks like he kind of gave up on it. It looks like Kha'Zix might have had a chance to come across him. Yeah, it looks...
It's a little hard to see exactly what's going on. Darius goes for his pull and gets a solid hit or two on that Darius. Darius falls out and is isolated, has to burn flash in order to survive.
Okay, so I'm going to say it looks like we have our first semi-successful gank. Well, actually, that is a successful gank. It did take Darius's flash, so you don't have to necessarily worry about that moving on in the future for a while, at least 6 minutes. So, chances are Kha'Zix will be back up to go ahead and see if he can't finish off the job a little bit later. So let's kind of prepare ourselves for that type of thing happening.
Shen, great trade up top just now. He basically engaged, making it so Darius was forced to take damage with those empowered Qs, and then was able to make it even more powerful because Darius couldn't end up landing his damaging auto attacks via that dodge mechanism that Shen has.
All right. So, looks like Kha'Zix is back up top again. We'll see if Darius pushes too far in and allows him to go. And Hecarim comes down and he goes after Zyra and gets the kill. Draven gets the kill. That is going to be pretty scary because that means Draven got his advantage back.
And just a quick burst of damage top lane, and that kill goes to Kha'Zix, making his predation on lone individuals even more powerful with his very ferocious hunter attack when he goes after people.
Okay, so, and it looks like Darius is going to go ahead and TP back up the top. So now that's down, but Shen's teleport, I thought... Oh, Echo was initially going to teleport down. All right, so Shen's teleport is still up. So if they choose to go for a Dragon or a dive in bot, Shen is still available to go ahead and do that. He's almost at level 6 too, so he also does have that. He does have that option available to him as well. Looks like Echo might be getting ready to try and dive on Orianna. I hope she's completely prepared for that. Doesn't look like she necessarily has all that much mana, and that might turn into a problem if he's able to go ahead and throw down damage just like he might do now as Kha'Zix goes ahead and jumps over. You're going to say, and Echo goes ahead and gets the kill, but can Kha'Zix get out now? He's getting assaulted by Hecarim, but he tried to flash and juke him, but it wasn't enough. He goes ahead and goes down to Hecarim, and Hecarim looks like he's going to back off, but in the end, it was a 1-for-1 trade on that mid lane area.
Hokages just ever so slightly ahead, barely anything in gold right now. Overall, we are seeing Echo being one of the center points for the Hokages, which is what we were expecting. He is consistently getting more CS and out-pushing that Orianna just as we expected him to do. But what is worth noticing is that the bot lane is actually going very strongly in NAEVI's favor. We were expecting more power from the Lucian and more transitioning with the Zyra damage, but it seems that this Draven is just playing very well and solidly, making sure he's getting that CS and scaling upward.
Yeah, and just kind of looking at the gold, even though he did get his stacks off, it looks like he only has a 300 gold advantage. So, considering Lucian, if things were even, he started off with a 400 gold or 400 gold advantage. That means that Draven actually did make up quite a bit of ground in terms of the early game money content.
Absolutely. That's something Draven excels at with his passive of, getting the bounty for ending up finishing off a target because of his spinning axes.
And Shen's going in. I'm going to say Kha'Zix went through, and it looks like
Double
they're going
flash.
They're going to get both of their flashes, but Shen's ult is down. I'm not sure if they are going to go for Dragon. Oh, and Kha'Zix gets caught out by Hecarim. Kha'Zix gets caught out by... That is kind of a tongue twister there.
Overall, though, it seems that the massive influx of members from Hokages is definitely going to be trying to get some damage onto this dragon, which they are definitely hoping. Unfortunately for them, it resets, so it regained a little health. But they are trying to whittle this down so they can end up getting this lane sustain that this Water Drake possesses. The NAEVI did not end up going in on that, which means that this is going to continuously heal and regenerate the missing things such as health and mana that the Hokages are expending during laning phase.
Right. And it looks like Shen went ahead and teleported back up top. So that burned his teleport. But then again, at this point in the game, after taking that dragon, it kind of doesn't necessarily matter. Looked like they were also trying to go ahead and get a quick little hook on Lucian to see if they couldn't kill him really quick or take him down. But Relentless Pursuit gets him out of range for the Thresh hook. And as a result, we are now kind of waiting to see what's about to happen. Kha'Zix came down looking as if he wanted to kind of jump in, but he decides to back off, go for Orianna, or potentially invade the jungle. But I think he's about to go ahead and jump on Orianna. He's in a really, really interesting spot for just kind of standing there, in all honesty, especially when that camp's not there. But it looks like he decided to back off. Looking at the builds, it looks like Lucian's going to go ahead and go with his Blade of the Ruined King setup, probably in preparation to go ahead and fight Darius and Hecarim. Draven, like I said, he's going with his standard Bloodthirster build to kind of keep him sustained up while he's throwing his axes out. It looks like Darius is either...
Echo is roaming down, and it seems that he's thrown out his stun bubble, but it's not quite enough to get that damage on. He ends up time-windering himself out, enabling him to escape before this Darius. Darius Flash grabs the Lucian. This is a very bad setup. Zyra all came down, ending up allowing the Darius to be finished. Hecarim coming in, great fear onto the Echo, forcing him away, but Echo is still able to get a little damage. And with that, Zyra entangles so much power, Echo ends up finishing up the Hecarim, and that is putting the Hokages further in the lead with a 1k advantage and several kills onto their Echo.
I'm going to say that turned out to be a really effective turn for Hokages, because that definitely was looking as if things were about to turn out really badly, and the fact that they were able to kind of keep their cool and kind of deal with the situations as they came up, that showed that they are prepared for this game.
Absolutely. And when you look at it, there was so much power. With this pick comp they are running, they did not just look for people that were out of position and walking on